Warning, the following conversation features fierce women, once high school acquaintances, now friends, who talk about real topics that most people either try to avoid or pretend don't exist. In here, it can get messy, but it's always the truth. Welcome to the Messy Truth.
Hey ladies, and we are back.
I got snacks.
Oh, what do you have?
I got Krause's chocolate. It's the best chocolate in the world. Oh my gosh.
Oh my, what do you have, sprinkles on it?
I'm gonna try to make this one last the whole time.
I'm eating smart food popcorn to help my brain.
You have to lick your fingers all the time when you drink that, when you eat that stuff.
Yep.
Yeah, all that salt. That's yummy.
Yeah.
Yep.
I'm doing cookies.
What do you got, Jen?
Gluten-free cookies. So like they're good because they're cookies, but they're gluten-free and
boring.
Right. Ain't nothing that's gluten-free all that great. It's missing the gluten.
Isn't chocolate gluten-free naturally?
Yeah. But the flour they have to use to make the cookies, the brownies, the cake, all the good stuff that I love to eat, I can't freaking eat.
So is this
if I could live, I'm sorry?
Is this gluten-free? If it's just pure chocolate?
Probably.
So
if it's pure chocolate, yeah.
Everything sounds healthier when you say it's gluten-free. So I'll be like,
no, okay, so that's like a total, no, that's a misnomer, and here's why. You have to use different types of starches, and you're getting just as many, if not more, carbs per serving when you're using gluten-free flours.
Oh, wow.
And the gluten is basically the protein in the wheat that makes it all like nice and stretchy and gives all those yummy things like pasta and bread and cookies and all that, like really good. It's like a texture kind of thing. So you have to use substitutes in the baking process or in the cooking process. Because when you don't have the gluten, you got to find something else for it. And there ain't nothing out there that's as good as gluten, taste-wise and texture-wise.
I'm going to pretend that I didn't hear you say it's not healthier because this is my gluten-free chocolate. And to me, so.
Sorry.
What are we talking about today?
Oh, we are talking about how not to talk with your mouth full. No, we're talking about ways that we declutter our mind, ways that we stop our mind chatter so we don't spiral off into never land with it.
Okay, so it's one thing, I'm just going to preface at what we say. It's one thing to know it, it's another thing to do it.
I like that. That is so true.
I know it, but I don't always do it. Just
right.
Saying, being truthful.
Yeah.
Not only.
Yeah, go ahead, Jen.
Not only is it hard to practice it and keep on practicing it, but sometimes you don't want to let it go.
Mm-hmm.
And that is tough.
Yeah,
that's really tough.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's tied to emotions. And even if those emotions make you sad, sometimes you still, there's something good in that, which is why you hold on to it.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. That is a really good point you made. Without a doubt, when I was going through crisis mode during divorce, maybe not so much my other mode, but during my divorce period, I needed to feel sad. It's like, and I needed to feel sad because you want to process it. And I was trying to understand it. So I don't know if this is relating to what we were just saying or not, but I'm going to go with it. I couldn't get out of, oh, I know where I'm going to go with this. I couldn't get out of being sad. I wanted to feel sad. And not that I didn't want to change the story. That's a completely different topic. You know, when we stay on the same story and you got to change your story to change things. But I needed to stay in those emotions and feel sad in order to process things. And I'm losing my way. And I told you this is going to happen as time goes on at night. But there's those times when I can't even, I lost my brain already. I told you this is going to happen to me. I told you.
But what answer do you want to stay feeling sad?
It felt okay. It felt good. It like felt good. Like I didn't want to come out of that mind chatter of that talk of sadness, because I think what it was like when we said, when you stay on that mind chatter keeps going, it's trying to find a resolution for things. And I think my sadness,
Recording.
I wanted to stay in that sadness because I think it was trying to process it. I don't know if it was actually helping or not, but my mom used to get mad at me because I would watch videos and other things over and over, not the same ones, but constantly be watching videos with my mind going, trying to process stuff. And she would say, stop watching that stuff. You're going to drive yourself crazy. So I don't know, like that mind chatter, I couldn't get out of it. I couldn't get out. It would just, the sadness felt good and it felt cathartic, but there is a certain time that you have to move on from it. So I don't know if I just went into a completely different topic. I didn't mean to.
I mean, hearing you say that you needed to stay in the sadness, that you wanted to stay in the sadness, blows my mind, because that is so not how I am. Like, sadness for me is like vomit. I will fight it until the very end. I don't want it to come out. I just keep it in there. So the fact that you said you needed your sadness, you wanted to stay in it, was like, what? Like,
I love the way it felt. Yeah, I love the way it felt. Now let me preface that. Now I'm like, not like I'm a depressive where like I just want to walk around feeling sad.
Why? Yeah, why did you love? I don't get that. Why did you love the way it felt?
If something is hurting me so much and I'm in so much pain, I want to dive so deep into it, because I feel like if I can feel it at its core, then I can release it. I don't know. Does that make sense?
It kind of does make
sense. If I stay here at the surface, if I feel the pain, I'm just like, oh, it hurts, it hurts, it hurts. I'm crying, it hurts. But if I dig in deep and I research it, and that's where when I would say I read books and watch videos, and it would hurt, and I would, even if you listen to songs and you listen to a song, you're like, don't listen to that song, it's going to make you cry. But it's just like, there's a point where you have to move on from this. But I feel like sometimes you have to dive in so deep to really feel that pain at its core, so I could just finally just release it.
That does make sense. I get that. So like, you can't move on from it because it's processing. You're processing.
Right.
You move on from it until you really feel it.
Right.
I
don't know. I probably got completely off topic.
No,
that was something, and
that was really like, I had never heard anybody say that before. That was crazy to me. But one of the things that I found out about one of the best ways, this is going to sound crazy. It's not one of the best ways, but it's one of the first ways that I read about getting rid of the clutter in your mind, because we talked about it in the last session, was getting rid of the clutter in your house, like the actual real clutter. So wow. So when I was watching this, I was watching this video, and it talked about that there's absolutely scientific evidence that shows that clearing the clutter in your house helps to clear the clutter in your life, and then that affects you physically. And so the person I was listening to actually used this as an example. She was like, you all know somebody who just keeps all of their old stuff from high school, which is funny because I just pulled out the yearbook right before.
I have all, yeah.
Yeah, but yearbooks you're supposed to keep, but keeps like all of your shirts, your jerseys, your notes, your, everything, like, somebody gave me this, and, whatever it is. Like if you have a closet that has all of your stuff that you've kept from high school, then that probably is a key or a sign that maybe you are stuck in the past and thinking that the best version of you is in the past and that it's gone. Who you are now is not who you used to be, and who you used to be was the better version of you. And that's probably matches with the clutter in your mind. And then she said, there's people, and this is me. This used to be me. It's not me anymore because since I've moved here, I've gotten very minimalistic. But having the closet of the stuff that you bought that you hope to someday wear somewhere, or you hope to, like, you bought the size 2 dress hoping that you'll fit in it one day, or
Right.
you got the skinny jeans that you hope, like, they're really cool looking. You hope you can wear them somewhere someday and look awesome. Like that also could be indicative of your mind clutter, possibly telling yourself that the best version of me is in the future. I'm not there yet either. And so
Right.
I just thought it was interesting how they tied in like the scientific evidence that shows cleaning out the clutter in your house for real helps to simplify your brain, helps to minimize routines and clear the clutter in your mind. And depending on what kind of clutter you have can be indicative of what the clutter is in your brain.
I love that.
Yeah.
I didn't think about the kind of clutter you have, but that's really cool. I'm going to have to think about that with myself. But I agree with, I can't stand when things are out of their place. So even when I go to bed at night, I have to make sure that everything is in its place. I like things very neat. And when the house is not dusted and cleaned and things are in their place, I personally cannot concentrate and function as well as I could, especially working from home now at this time, unless everything is kind of in order. So I don't know if that's a little OCD in there too, but when there's a lot of clutter, and right now I'm decluttering my house, those closets, things that I have kept over the years, clothes, and I'm not a pack rat or a hoarder, but holiday stuff and all that stuff. You just have to declutter after a while, and it is very cathartic. And when you do have to worry about it less, like this Christmas, I have so much Christmas stuff that it probably looks like Santa's winter wonderland. It looks like you're in the North Pole. And I love that
stuff. I'm just going to say that right now. You can never have too much Christmas stuff.
Right. Well, I feel like that. And I agree with you. But I'm going to tell you, this is the first year, and I feel like actually it's starting to feel like this little year after year, where I started feeling stressed. I started feeling stressed out, like, oh my gosh, I got to put all this stuff up. And I got to put it up at a certain time because, you want it up to stay up for a while because there's so much of it. It takes a while to put up. And oh my gosh, now I have to take it down and I have to pack it away. And then toward the end, once Christmas was over and after it was up for a little bit, because I try to get it down before the end of January, and I have cycles. So, okay, now the snowmen can stay up, and now the snowmen come down, and then, whatever. Santa goes away first, and the snowmen stay up. But anyway, it just felt like it was coming in on me. It was so much. And I feel like it creates mind chatter, but the stupid mind chatter. We talked about mind chatter that really creates emotional upheaval and crisis mind chatter. This is useless mind chatter, where it's just creating noise and it prevents me from staying focused on things. Yeah. So those are different. I feel like I don't know if we talked too much about different kinds of mind chatter. I think we touched on it. So that is like the clutter that you're talking about, declutter, and how that does create that useless mind chatter. So I completely agree with what you just read. Yeah.
It's funny that you were saying that, because the whole like clutter thing, I realized one of the ways in which, if I'm like getting really stressed out about stuff and there's a lot of clutter in the house, I start to feel overwhelmed.
Yeah.
And it makes my, like my, chatter kind of like feeds off of the clutter, but only when I'm at a certain tipping point in my brain with stress. So one of the ways actually that I have found is taking a section of my house, and this is one of my remedies that helps me with the mind chatter, refocusing the brain. And one way to do it, get rid of the clutter, clean up this section of the house, pick out this section, clean that. Then my brain is being, and like all of those thoughts and all of that chatter is being shut down for a while. You're just going, shh, just kind of shutting it down, keeping it quiet, because I'm re-engaging my brain, focusing it on something else.
Right.
And it's nice because it's like, all right, I got to give my brain a rest from this nonstop with the crazy, and all that stuff going on up there. So cleaning for me is definitely helpful, and I'm not a neat freak. But in those cases where I'm starting to really feel I'm getting overwhelmed because there's too much clutter in my head and clutter in my house, doing that really helps. And for me too, yard work, because the stuff outside, first, session we did, I was outside. I love being outside. And the nice thing is there's always something to do. There's always something to clean. There's always something to trim. There's always, leaves or whatever. And again, it's about like, I love being outside. So that helps me mentally, helps me emotionally. Obviously the sunshine, vitamin D, but also refocusing my mind and engaging it in something else other than the garbage that's going on up here.
Right.
And being able to enjoy that moment because I'm focusing on something other than the hamster wheel.
Yeah. You just hit with being outside. You just hit 3 things on my list. And that was, where are they? Sunlight. An activity that's taking your brain, that's stopping the thought and forcing yourself to do something else. So in a sense, it's kind of like a physical way to reframe whatever that thought is, like a physical way to stop the thought, because you can't really multitask. If you're gardening, right?
Right.
But sunlight is a big one. It's proven, like, so like I looked this stuff up. I'm sure the stuff that you guys did, you looked up too. So whoever's listening to this stuff, we're just not bullshitting you. This is like real stuff. So sunlight, reframing, having a task to do that keeps you like all engulfed in that. And then I think yard work, there's a certain level of physical activity to that. And so regular exercise, which increases serotonin, is going to help combat the cortisol levels, which will lower your stress. And if you're lowering your stress, that can help you to start having less mind chatter and reversing that cycle that we talked about in the second session about what the cortisol does and taking, killing those neurons that calm the brain down. So just,
I love,
it's like 3 things in one. Dang, girl.
And Jen, the running, right?
Oh, big time. Yeah. So running. I mean, I started, and I'm not like a huge runner or anything like that, but when I started running, it was back in my early 20s, and my roommate, my best friend for life, Amy, she was running, and I'm like, how do you stay so fit? She's like, oh, I run every day. So I figured, I'll pick it up. I ran for a while and then loved it, totally loved it, did it more and more. And then, I don't know, it was like 10 years ago or whenever I was diagnosed with celiac, I couldn't run because all my joints hurt like mad. And for the longest time, I'm like, I can't run. When I get better, whatever I have, and I like figured this out, when I get better, I want to run. So then I was running because I could, like, finally again. I was like, that's why I'm going to run, because I can physically run. I want to do it for all the times that I couldn't run. And then like in the past, like year and a half, with some of the, the crazy and the stress and the crises and everything going on, I'd get the nervous energy. And I'm like, I got to get this out.
Yes.
Running. And when the pandemic hit, I was like knocking tennis balls into my garage door just like for like an hour and a half at a time just to get it out. And it felt so good. And then you get the serotonin going, then you get the sunlight and all that. I mean, I knocked out like a spotlight. I cracked the frame in 4 places. I lost tennis balls down the sewer, but like, it just, you got to get it out. Like you've, especially when you've got like a low level of stuff going on in your brain. But for me, when it really ramps up, I like, I got to get it out. I got to do something, run, tennis, like banging the ball, whatever it takes. I got to get it out, because otherwise I'm just, again, the brain can only take so much. You can only handle so much.
Yeah. I definitely, you guys know that I love running. So that's a big thing for me. And then I feel like, not with the low level stuff, but when I was going crisis mode writing, I'm not saying this is I didn't look this up, any proven thing. I don't know for me, but that's when I changed my blog, that I had writing about Disney, and I changed it to more about my life and what I was going through. And I would just write about my divorce and my feelings and finding my inner child. Oh my gosh, I talked about a lot of personal stuff and I didn't care, but it was so cathartic to write it and get it out. And it's almost like you almost discover yourself and figure things out, and your mind chatter just comes out onto that page. And then it becomes something different. And I feel like it almost took some of the power away from it. Right, Becky? So I see you nodding your head. So I know that you said the other day, we were all on Zoom, and you were writing stuff. I thought you were just taking notes for something else, but you said, no, I'm sorry, I'm getting stuff out of my head.
Yeah.
So your mind was probably going, and, just writing it out helped me
right
a
here.
lot. Ah, there you go.
Becky's mind right there.
Yeah.
But no, that is actually scientifically proven to reduce stress, is to journal. And so the idea is getting your when you get your thoughts out of your brain onto paper, you are literally getting them out of your brain onto paper. And then for me, what the extra step that I do is I put my journal in a drawer. So it's a drawer that I can close, and there it is. It's almost like I literally physically decluttered my brain. I put it on paper and I put it away in its place. And
that's great.
Place that I can leave it. And if I want to revisit something, I can pull it out and look back on something that I wrote down. But yeah, there are some days where it's just like, no. I gotta write this down. I gotta get this out of my head, because the rest of my night is not going to be good until this is down on paper and I can put it in that drawer and close it up.
Yeah.
But
I've also over the years come to I mean, I am a big believer of prayer, but I have a really hard time, and I always have, with praying, of staying focused. I have my mind, I will start praying, and then I start talking about the dishes I have to do and all this other stuff for some reason. And I have really, really, really struggled over many years with that. So praying doesn't help me with my mind clutter, though I still pray for other reasons. But for the mind clutter, I have a couple things that I do, and I try to do them every morning to set my mind straight. The clutter's going to come in, but I feel like in the morning when I'm fresh, to help me start off right, I have note cards that I have written over 6 years, and I keep them, and they change. And they're just notes to myself about doing things. I know I've mentioned this a couple times, so it keeps coming up. Doing things with good intentions, or everything I do with a good intention, or just reminding myself that I wake up every morning with joy in my heart, just like things for me to focus on to start my day. And then it's so hard to do, but I meditate, and sometimes I do a good job at it and sometimes I don't. But when my mind was high clutter. There was no way that I could meditate, but over the practice of learning how to do it, it is such a release. And even if it's just for 3 minutes of actual meditation, of sitting there for 15 minutes, that, and my other one I just want to mention so I don't forget is yoga. Like yoga, in the beginning, I'm like, yeah, it's these poses and I'm really good at posing. Yeah, that's great. But the focus and the breathing, you just have to get in the mindset, and I don't have mind clutter when I'm doing yoga.
You can't.
So it must be working
when you're doing yoga. Like,
yeah.
I know you love running. I run, but I don't love it. I run just because it's like, I think I should.
Yeah.
And I usually say when I run, it's like a run, jog, walk, crawl.
Yeah. Yeah.
But like running or even walks, like I
love walking.
I have to like put music in to force myself to think about something else, because a walk or even a run actually can be the perfect time for mind clutter just to go crazy.
Absolutely. Yes.
Yeah.
You got to kind of try to stay focused. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Because you can do that.
But with yoga, you can't do yoga and think about anything else, because you're like, whoa, wait, let me get this. How am I getting this pose? And my leg is shaking. You know, like you have a little twitch here and you're like trying to hold it and it's just so awkward. And you know, that you're focusing on the breathing. It's just like Jenn's gardening. You can't really garden and be thinking about whatever it is that your brain perseverates on, you know?
Yeah.
But you hit on a couple of things that I wrote down. The one was prayer. Okay, so I'm sorry, Christians everywhere, you're going to be mad at me, but when I'm tired and I can't go to sleep, I'll pray, because that puts me asleep like that.
Me too. Me too. Yes.
Because my brain can't stay focused on it so long, especially at night. But I'll start praying, and then I don't know, maybe it's just the calmness of feeling like I'm sending my troubles up to God. And you know, and here's the interesting thing about prayer. I'm sure you guys know this too. So like years and like probably 20-25 years ago, they did research on people who were sick. And they did research, they put the people in two groups. These people clearly said they prayed while they were sick, and these other people said they didn't. And then the people who prayed got better sooner than the people who didn't. Now, some people will say that's because of a higher power, or that's because of God, but really there were people who prayed who didn't even believe in God. It was just the idea, it was the action of getting it out that you think about the cortisol levels, getting it out, bringing down the cortisol levels, less stress, enabling our immune system to work better. So, you know, whether or not you believe in a God or a creator or whatever, prayer has always been scientifically proven in medical research journals, peer reviewed for you people out there who are like, you know, whatever, scientific snobs. It works. It works. And it doesn't necessarily have to be because you believe in it. It works. And then, so prayer is like sending out your thoughts. It's almost like therapy to an invisible being, you know? So therapy is also proven to work because we're talking out our problems and we're kind of putting it on somebody else to like help us process with. But meditation is different. Like real meditation is about emptying yourself of everything and not thinking about anything, which is really hard to do, right?
Oh my gosh. And when you can achieve it, and it is hard, I have done it a couple times. Well, more than a couple times, but I remember a couple significant times where it is the most relaxing. I don't want to come out of it. I know I'm doing it right when I don't want to come out of it. A couple times I actually felt like I left my body,
Interesting.
and not in a weird way. I can't tell you where I went, and I did not fall asleep. I know what that feels like. That is an amazing feeling. And one time, this happened when I was at yoga class. I was focusing on my heart, and I was focusing on joy and love and sending it out. You remember Etch a Sketch? I might have told you guys this before. I'm sorry if I'm repeating it. Etch a Sketch. And so I had this image come in, and I was not asleep. I had this image come in, right, like floated in front of my eye, and then it floated out, and it was I'm going to say a daisy, but it was like just black lines, and it was layer, exact lines like a flower. And it came in and it left. And when I looked the image up, so there's I forgot what they call them. Not hieroglyphic, no, not at all. But anyway, they're sacred geometry. It was a piece of sacred geometry, which I didn't even know existed. And I looked it up, and yeah. So talking about meditation, so I must have been doing something right, and it sure helped with the mind chatter and the clutter.
So getting back to meditation, or staying on meditation, the only way I've ever really been able to stop my brain from thinking when I'm trying not to think, probably is going to sound so stupid, but I will, and this is what I'll do sometimes at night when I just can't sleep. I will just in my brain say the word nothing over and over and over.
Oh, yeah.
And I'll just be like, in my brain, just being like, nothing. Because as long as I'm saying nothing, I can't think of anything else. It sounds so weird, but I have to show you guys something. I'm not going to say it because we decided we didn't really want to, well, I'm going to show it to you, but this is probably, because I started to do meditation at night, like Spotify has a couple of, there's sections there are different, podcasts, I guess, on Spotify that are meditations meant for women for different reasons. But my favorite meditation podcast, which has a variety of different meditations, is
hold on, I gotta get my glasses on. Oh my goodness.
So why, I mean, this person is dropping the F-bomb throughout the whole meditation. He's just like, all right, we're here to effing meditate. Just get in your effing just get in your effing chair and get effing comfortable.
Get out.
And I did it. I've done it a couple of times in the morning. He was like, it's going to be a great effing day. It's just like, we're going to clear the shit out of your head. And he's just like, going, oh my God. I'm laying down on the floor, like literally right down over there in front of the TV while this is playing. And I'm finding myself so relaxed, but I'm giggling a little bit because he's so funny. But my brain, when it's over, I feel happy because he made me laugh. And I'm not really thinking about whatever it was I didn't want to think about before I went in there.
So
it's funny
Go ahead, Jen. I'm sorry.
Oh, thanks. It's funny that you said that you laugh. So like, there have been times where, you know, all that stuff's going on. And then my brain becomes engaged by humor, whether I'm watching something funny on TV, just that mental escape, that emotional escape, but particularly when it's funny.
Yes.
So like that podcast I told you all about it, Pete and Sebastian, I watched them. And it's nice to get lost. And also I find not only are they funny, I'm kind of getting lost in like the minutia of their lives because they discuss things that go on during the week that happen to them. And it's nice to be engaged in something other than yourself and the garbage that's going on in your head. But going back to prayer for just
garbage.
Yeah. Right. Not all of it, but and a lot of it's, and some of it's heartache too. I mean, that's the worst one. And so there are two things I just wanted to bring up. Sometimes if I'm in the middle and it's like really getting crazy, I start to count. I count from 1 to 100, and I do it just several times in a row, again, because it's making you focus on something other than those thoughts. And oftentimes I've noticed if I do that after a couple of minutes, something else will happen, you know, and I'm kind of like, oh, okay, now I can work on that. And that part's gone. But with the prayer thing for me, because I do run a moms in prayer group at my kids' school. And what's funny is a long time ago, you know, I was doing this like spiritual gifts survey or whatever, and prayer came up as one of them. And I'm like, great, that means bad stuff's going to happen to me. And I'll be praying for the rest of my life. Like, that's how I took it.
That's some really screwed up mind chatter right there, Jen.
Oh, totally. Absolutely.
Worst
Like,
scenario.
what kind of gift is that? That means I got to pray because all bad stuff's going to happen. So it's so funny because now, but I use it for this moms in prayer group. And initially it's hard for me to like, you know, stay focused and like really pray. But after a certain point, I am like fully engaged in that. And it really does like totally reset my mind. Because it's on such a deep level. And when things are really bad, like, and I'm just crying out to God, and I mean, like, and it's like mental anguish, and my heart, here we go, I'm gonna probably start crying again, and my heart is breaking. That's it. Crying is a great release for me. When it comes to all that mental stuff, but just releasing that to God and crying out to him in those moments where I feel like I'm really suffering, that it helps so much. It takes a little while to get there. You know, it's like you're, you know, talking to somebody for the first time or whatever, and you start to open up a little bit, and then you open up a little bit more. So sometimes with those deep prayers, it takes a little bit, but when it does, and it's like all out there, it does help reset upstairs, definitely. And in my heart.
That's interesting that you say that, and we can talk more. You know, I think, Jen, I've told you this before, like there was a whole time where I just stopped praying altogether because I was like, why bother? It's not changing. Like all the things I prayed for all the big things that I prayed for in my life from the time my brother died, praying for him to not die, they none of them worked out. You know, they all didn't work out. And I'm sorry to whoever is, you know, whatever, the people who I'm offending or they're shaking their heads at me, but that doesn't mean that doesn't take away my faith. That doesn't take away what I know to be true, what I believe to be true. But sometimes it's just like exhausting to pray when you're just not like, I'll pray for other people, but I don't pray for myself. I just can't, because it's just so disheartening when things don't work out. So I'll ask other people to pray for me, you know, instead. But
and that's that, you know what, don't ever beat yourself up, because I'll tell you right now, the fact that people go through that unanswered prayers, or prayers that were answered totally not the way they wanted, or whatever the case may be, the fact that you still believe, that alone's a miracle.
Yeah, I'll never not believe what I believe. Never, ever. Just, it's like, that's my foundation. That's who I am at my core, and that'll never change. And that doesn't mean I think less of God and who I know him to be. So I don't want to get religious, but I do want to come back to something that you said, that triggered what I was talking about, I think maybe in our first session, about the first panic attack I had when I was at work. And I remembered something when I walked outside. So I work at the Thayer Hotel at West Point, and I walked outside and I'm looking at, it's beautiful. It was a beautiful May day. And I walked outside just to try to breathe. And I sat down on a bench, and I remembered something my therapist had said. And I was like, I'm at a loss here. I'm willing to try anything. And when she told it to me, I was like, that sounds ridiculous. I'm not doing that. I just thought it was so silly. But what she told me to do, because I was asking her for one of my kids at the time. And what she said to do was to say, I see whatever, I hear whatever, I feel whatever, I smell whatever. So I was just so like caught up, and I was like, I just got to try this. And so and you have to say it out loud. And so I was like, okay, I see the bird flying over the river. I hear the, the water rushing or the train going by. I feel the sun against my face. I smell like, and so I had to look for these things. I smell the flowers that are right next to me. And sure enough, it definitely, it, for those, however long it took me to find something to say, I saw, I feel, whatever, smell, it was enough to kind of snap me out of what was going on. And that's definitely a technique that worked for me, that I was like, I wasn't buying into it when I first heard it, and it worked. Anyway.
I think that's great. I actually heard that before. I haven't used it, but I have heard about that before.
Yeah.
I could.
The only other things that I have found out that we haven't talked about is having very simple routines, daily routines, keeping your routines simple.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Because it minimizes what you need to do in the day. If you just keep to your routines, and your routines are pretty much simple,
Yeah.
that is also in a sense kind of creating a neural pathway. And then, in those sense, like, just the idea of like, when you have those thoughts, you stop the thought. You tell yourself the truth about what that thought is. Like, no, Becky, that's you whatevering, worst case scenarioing this issue. And then you just force yourself to move on. And then the only other thing, other than the simple routines that I found, other than what we already talked about, is just living minimally whenever possible, like however minimal you can live. And really living minimally really is what we talked about in the beginning, is just decluttering your life in real life, not just in your brain.
Yeah, I will attest to that. I feel like when I pack my schedule too much, which I don't realize that I do, but I feel like I probably do it almost on a daily basis. But if I keep what I'm expecting out of myself to do to a minimum, whether that be, housework, grocery shopping, and then you gotta, your full day of work, even if you're working at home, you still have a full day of work. Or, sometimes I'll expect myself to do most of the time, okay, I'm going to do the laundry, and I'm going to run to ShopRite, and then I'm going to dust the house, and I'm going to vacuum, and I'm going to clean that closet out. Plus I'm going to do my 8 hours or 7.5 hours of work. Oh, let me clean the bathroom. That's right. And I'll cook dinner and then clean the dishes. And I'll meet with my friends on Zoom here and talk. Oh my gosh, that creates so much craziness in my head to add to everything. And again, that's not the crisis mind chatter. That's just the crazy mind chatter.
That also brings up something else, but you can't live minimally if you don't allow yourself to say no to things.
Right.
And
I have a problem with that.
Was a thing for me. And I'm like, I've learned in the last year to say no, and I love saying no now. Like, sometimes I'll just say no just because I can say it. Like, but I'm going to say no to this just because I can, and I'm in control of my life, and I'm going to say no. And something about that makes me feel good. I don't know why, but
that is good.
Yeah. Boundaries. My sister's always like, it's all about boundaries. She's like, I'm like, will you please stop boundaries?
That's a topic. It's one of my favorite topics to talk about, because I didn't know what that word meant until I started going through my divorce. My divorce brought up a lot of growth for me. So I would love to talk about boundaries sometimes. Yeah.
That's after we talk about social media filters.
Yeah. Oh, Lord. Oh, social media filters. We have fun with that one.
We do. So that's my list. Does anybody have any others before we wrap this sucker up?
Nope. I don't think so. I think just on a daily basis, like we touched upon all the stuff that you can, I guess, kind of almost like physically do, like the writing, the running, the yoga, the praying, gardening, stuff like that. And you did touch a little bit about, just catching the mind chatter. Because sometimes you just can't go for a run or stop and do yoga, or you're just not able to journal. If I'm at work, right now I'm at home, but if I was at the office and my mind was going, and I'm talking about during crisis stuff, and my mind was just going and going, catching that mind chatter. I'm trying to remember of what I would do to stop it. That's really difficult. I don't even remember, honestly, what I would do to stop the mind chatter. But now that I'm more seasoned, I guess, is just recognizing it and, like you said, redirecting it. That is just so difficult to do. And if you're not seasoned at practicing that, that is just something that takes quite some time to be able to stop yourself from doing.
Yeah. Yeah. Now here's one that I didn't read about. But it's just popping into my brain, and I'm going to look it up when we're done here. But part of me, if exercise gets the serotonin, and serotonin helps to kind of calm that clutter down, part of me is like, watching a comedian that makes you laugh has to do the same thing.
Yeah, I think, the exercise, and I'm guessing with the comedians, it's endorphins.
Yeah.
So serotonin helps the brain as well, but it's the endorphins that kick in when you're running or doing aerobic activity for 20 minutes and 22 minutes, whatever it is, that kicks in. And I don't know with the comedians if it's serotonin or endorphins.
Probably
but endorphins.
Yeah.
Yeah, it totally does it. And for me, a lot of times it's music, because I'm in my car so much during the day. And Becky knows this, because I'm like, hey, you got to check out Rain on Me. You got to check out, Overdrive. Or
then gets mad if I don't listen to it quickly enough.
I'm like, come on, you got to listen to the song. It's awesome. Well, and I'm just like, woohoo. And I'm like, I'm dancing in my car. Endorphins, I don't know.
Dancing.
I love dancing. So I dance in my car. I love dancing at home. I'll crank the tunes. However I can do it, I'm going to dance. And that totally helps me stop with the circling the drain business.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So I'm going to admit something. Anyone else who's watching, just mute it for the next 30 seconds while I say this. But so you guys know, because I was showing you some of the songs I was listening to when I was having my private dance party the other night. But the time I had a dance, because I don't know if you guys know this, but I used to host girls' dance night parties at my house before COVID, and now it's just me. But the time before this past week, I actually got dressed up for my dance party. I am not kidding you. Like,
I love it. I love it.
New heels. I was like, let me see how these heels work with the dancing. And I had a great time all by myself. It was really fun. It would have been more fun if there were other women here with me. I don't need the men around. Just a bunch of girls, ladies dancing. Okay.
I used to have when Rebecca would go to her dad's house when I was first separated, and I would do the dance party in the kitchen by myself, and I loved it. And I would just put the light on in the pantry, so it was like low light. Oh, and I'd turn the music up. Yeah, well, and I would just
lights behind me. That's all I need.
I love it. Yeah, it's pretty. Yeah. Dance parties.
List. We came up with a good freaking list of decluttering. Yeah. And if you have a problem after that, it's not our fault.
Yeah. And I would love, like, I don't know, what are you putting this on? Wherever you're putting this, are people able to make comments? I would love to hear other people leave comments, or not hear it. I would love to read what other people do to get rid of the chatter, the incessant, stuff, whether it's just the simple stuff, or if it's the crucial stuff, like the critical, the bad stuff.
Like hearing other people's, I wish we said that in the first two, like, what is your mind clutter? Like, let's hear it in your comments. But I can add that later, but how do you combat it? I'd love to hear what other people have to say on top of this list. because I think it's a
Yep.
pretty good list.
Yep. And even if you do something that we mentioned, and you just want to tell us how you do it or how it makes you feel, or, what your
Like,
top 3 best things are, even if we mentioned it.
what dress are you wearing when you have your private dance party?
Yeah. How high are your heels?
Higher your heels. Mine were 4.
yeah.
That's a workout right there, ladies.
Oh gosh.
Yeah.
I am so out of the heel realm anymore. Like, I just live in my kicks and my like sweatshirts
Yeah.
and
I don't ever wear
jeans.
heels. I got those heels for a photo shoot, and I don't ever wear heels because this is where I am all the day. I don't even wear shoes. I'm in socks all the time.
Right. Was it photo shoot with Mike?
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah. You were supposed
Very
to do
cool.
yours too.
I went to the studio with Carl and with my camera, and he said, yeah, I got one. And he said, oh, you see that rack over there? All that stuff, that's Becky's. That's Becky's stuff over that rack.
Yeah, I felt like because it was there so long and I hadn't gone, and I like called them up and I felt like this feels like a weird, awkward breakup. I was like, can I come to the studio and pick up my things?
Oh no.
And so he met me there at the studio, and it was weird. It was, I mean, like, we're friends and everything, but it did have that element of like, I'm picking up my stuff and I'm taking it out of here. Like how
Oh no.
it would be if you were breaking up and like moving out,
Yeah.
But
Oh my gosh.
anyway, so good job. Good job on the solutions, ladies.
Yeah. I'm so happy to hear what you guys did. It's nice to hear what's in your mind and how everybody handles it.
Yeah.
Makes you feel less crazy and connected
Yeah.
to the women around you.
Unless it's just us 3. Unless it's just us 3 who are that crazy. It could be all
Yeah.
by ourselves.
That's a possibility.
It is possible, but I'm fine. All I need is you guys.
No,
Yeah.
there's way crazier out there. I read it in the headlines all the time.
Oh,
way crazy.
That is true. There is way crazier out there because, in the first one, the heart shape in my rug.
Oh yeah.
So
Yeah.
Look at Florida.
Yeah. Oh my
Florida man.
gosh.
There's a reason why they call him Florida man.
Oh my God.
Oh my gosh.
So funny.
Well, ladies, I have a sink full of dishes that I left in order to hang out with you guys. And what time is it? It's almost 10:30, and my husband and the sink full of dishes are calling me.
All righty. We did good.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right.
Thanks for spending the night.
Thank you.
All right. We'll
Ciao.
see you soon.
Look forward to
Okay,
seeing you guys
bye.
later.